Kintsugi is the Japanese art of pottery restoration, wherein the broken shards of a pot or vase are mended with a metallic-colored adhesive. Usually, it's mixed with gold, platinum, or silver powder. All of these substances are highly valued, but rather than polishing the pottery to make it shine, they highlight cracks, chips, and bevels. They bring attention to the damage that the object has taken in the past. Now, say you're the owner of such a pot. Would you throw it away simply because it was broken? Or would you keep it regardless? Like all analogies, that pot represents something about us as people. By accepting something or someone's history, we embrace their imperfections. Only by overcoming our own judgment will we open our eyes to the beauty lying deep within. I wanted to bring this up because a relatively new series called Gachiakuta, created by Kei Urana, sort of represents this philosophy. Sure, there isn't a lot of pottery lying around in the series so far, but there is a lot of garbage. Still, any good piece of garbage can always be salvaged. After all, it's said that when an object is treated with care, a soul will come to inhabit it.
I'm here to deliver the good news to you all. Get a ticket for the hype train before it's too late.
A serviceable introduction to a series will set its tone. An excellent one whacks you over the head with a gong. What I mean to say is that the sign of a really good story is one that can get across its core message in an impactful way right from the get-go. Gachiakuta is set in a dystopian world where wealth and heritage determine your status in society. So far as we can grasp, people are divided into two factions, the city folk and tribesfolk. City folk live lavish and wasteful lives. The moment any damage is incurred to their possessions, they'll immediately discard it. They're so filled with greed that they won't even give the scraps to the less fortunate tribesfolk, who essentially live in a ghetto. Tribesfolk are harshly punished for their misdeeds, often sentenced to death by being dropped into the pit. Many of the tribesfolk are descendants of criminals, so the reason they continue to suffer is a form of generational punishment. Not only that, the clothing practically every tribesfolk wears is a disheveled version of city folk attire. We're also told that the slums were originally built to house those criminals. This indicates that not all tribesfolk were born in the slums. A lot of city folk were exiled there for a number of possible reasons. Needless to say, this is a world overflowing with discrimination. Fortunately, there is at least one person able to see that our prejudices are skin deep. Meet Rudo, the protagonist. He's a dumpster diver, and his antics often land him in a garbage heap of trouble. He's also a skilled tinkerer, often repairing the trinkets from his salvages. However, his efforts go unappreciated because of the circumstances in which they are done. The consequences of Rudo's actions won't solely affect him. Others could be punished as a result. However, there's a girl, because of course there is, and he wants to do something nice for her, because of course he does. And believe it or not, it's actually a really sweet moment. He repaired a plush that had been discarded by a little girl because it tore. He then musters up the courage to give it to his crush, Chiwa. It perfectly captured what this series is trying to communicate. Similarly to Kintsugi, by treating something with care and kindness, you fill it with life and meaning. Rudo looks past any blemishes an object has and tries to find the value it possesses. However, he lives in a world that greatly lacks a sense of nuance. He's framed for murdering his adoptive father, Recto. It's so obvious that this was a setup. The apostles were patrolling his neighborhood just before he got home. Surprisingly, there were no witnesses to the murder other than Rudo. The apostles arrest him despite there being no indication that someone outside called them. It's just... all of this was seemingly done just so that Regto's book could be taken.
Does it make you want to take things in your own hands? Seethe.
Seethe.
Why don't you make them pay? Fed.
Mystery aside, this is the moment where Rudo learns the cold hard truth about his world. He never got a chance to explain himself because he was easy to blame for something so heinous. After all, he's the son of a murderer whose actions seemingly made the living condition of the slums far worse for everyone else. He also lost all of Chiwa's affection. All because he lives in a world with labels covering people's eyes. He is a child, yet he is sentenced to death without so much as a trial. Again, this guy was clearly set up by the feds. Am I the only one that's seeing that? We now descend into Rudo's inferno. Turns out his execution failed. He's now exiled. Speaking of, remember that angel dust joke about dying in hell? Yeah, he's now in super hell. Gachiakuta is both a commentary on societal hierarchies and a bangin' kaiju series. Rudo was dumped on the ground where all garbage is disposed of. This is essentially where we learn that the slums and the city are floating in the sky. If you thought the slums were bad, wait until you get a load of this place. Genuinely, this world is so bleak. Spherites are so indifferent to the suffering of the groundlings that they don't even realize that it's not only the pollution that's hurting them. People straight up die by having trash bags falling on their homes. Instead of a toaster in the bathtub, it's a broken toaster to the freaking dome. The black market has become, well, the market, I guess? I don't know, it's a fucking dystopia. Also, like any typical apocalypse-coded story, information is a valuable resource. Engine says that so often that I'm immediately suspecting him of hiding things, and he's mostly only telling Rudo just to get something out of him. The power system is both cool to look at and rich with character. The series makes use of a philosophy called animism, wherein everything, even inanimate objects, contain a spiritual essence. Hell, the monster's energy source is called anima. Objects are then imbued with life and special abilities, and this has some terrible consequences. Piles of garbage are often infused with anima made from malice, thus morphing them into violent beasts. The primary characters in this series possess the ability to imbue powers onto objects they care about deeply. Zanka, a supporting character, went as far as calling a stick his treasure. These are called vital instruments. The characters all obviously have very intimate histories with their possessions, so I'm really excited to see each person's backstory. I'm currently an anime-only fan of the series, and at the time of writing, there are 4 episodes. Regardless, I have to do some speculation. I think, later on, the weather and natural disasters will be controlled by anima. The most prominent source of inspiration this series has is Soul Eater, as Urana-san was mentored by its creator, Atsushi Okubo. The experience she gained working as an assistant gave her a template of the best aspects of shonen writing. She also does really well to set herself apart from the crowd. This is also in part thanks to Ando-san, the series' graffiti artist. A lot of the series' aesthetic choices were made with graffiti and grunge rock in mind. This isn't only on a visual level, but also in terms of the personality of the characters. The coloring is both vibrant and repugnant, body proportions are exaggerated, their language is vulgar to the point where it's excessive, and the fashion is strikingly offbeat. Graffiti isn't simply done because someone wanted to vandalize property. It's commonly found in public areas with a lot of passing onlookers because it's trying to get a message across. It's rebellious, it celebrates freedom of expression, the defiance of a corrupt system, and could act as the grounds to spark change. You know, at least not in the cases where graffiti artists are trying to DM each other via painting. Graffiti isn't the only way this series revels in chaos. In the opening credits, there's imagery of holy statues, corpses, furniture, electronics, and an art gallery bursting into pieces. Couple this with some instances in which important characters turn to dust and wither away. Once again, I think the series is commenting on how immensely broken the world is on all tiers of society. From aristocrats to commoners, not only are people at the bottom victims of the system, the prejudice runs so deep that, more often than not, the people that participate in the system the most are burned on the cross. The characters are deeply troubled individuals who appear level-headed on the surface, but deep down are carrying immense baggage. Right now, I'm torn between if I like Zanka or Ryomo. Just have to wait for their backstories. I think Rudo has the potential to be a fantastic protagonist. Although he's your typical determined dunderhead, he's still noticeably different. If you've watched the 4 episodes of the series, you would have noticed something. Rudo hasn't really been that altruistic. Sure, he's done things to make people happy, and he's saved someone from certain death, but a lot of the time, he's acting to defend himself. I'm not saying that he's completely self-serving, he is considerate of other people's feelings, like when he got into that heated spat with Zanka. What I mean to say is that the series isn't really trying to make him out to be a hero. He's clearly someone angry at the world around him for the hand he was dealt. He doesn't want to join the cleaners because he wants to save the world, he wants to get back at everyone and everything that wronged him. Rather than calling him a boy wonder, he's an insurgent who'll use any means necessary. As depressing as his downward spiral might be to watch, there's a wealth of positivity flowing from him. Thus far, my favorite scene is when Rudo is introduced to more of the ground's inhabitants. He was nearly going to be sold for his body parts, and in order to keep him healthy, he was force-fed the rotted remains of human beings. Here, he learns that the hatred harbored by both sides is one and the same, and that has him seething at his core. He goes as far as biting the flesh off of one of his captors and willingly devouring the scraps they gave him. This scene is both gross and carries immense weight for his character. No matter what others detest or deride, no matter how broken or spoiled an object is, Rudo will always be able to see it for what it's truly worth. I also really like how subtly it explains why Rudo's power is so unique compared to the other characters in the story. It's because of this trait that Rudo possesses, he's seemingly the only giver capable of turning any object into a vital instrument. Someone with his personality is the best candidate to enact change in his world, not only because it's in stark contrast to the philosophy that many hold in it, but also because no one sees things from his perspective. As disgusting and poisonous as Gachiakuta's world is, it comes packed with a very hopeful message, highlighted in contrasting shades of grime. The world is broken, but it's not unfixable. All it takes is someone willing to put the pieces back together again. Sure, some things are more broken than others, and the damage will show, but that doesn't mean it can't be beautiful.
Moving